the Net Zero Nuclear exhibition at COP30, and it is a true pleasure to have Felipe Maciel, who is the manager for environment and climate change at the World Steel Association. Thank you, Felipe, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
It's lovely. So I have a couple of questions for you because obviously steel is one of the key components of the current economic growth. At the same time, also there is a lot of constraints and concerns on emissions due to steel manufacturing. So let me ask you, so how important it is for the steel industry reliable and clean energy?
Yes, this steel as a material is needed everywhere, right?
Everywhere.
So it's part of the fabric of our society, and of course, we also understand the size of the challenge. Steel currently, the steel industry accounts for about 7 to 8% of emissions worldwide. So there's a big need to reduce emissions from steel. Currently, steel is produced mainly using coal as the main source of energy. So changing that matrix and actually bringing in low carbon energy is a significant aspect of that. World Steel, recently we did an estimate of how much investment is needed to decarbonize the steel industry, and we got you a number of between $3 to $5.5 trillion, and at least half of that or more is just investment on the electricity and the grid coming into the industry. So it is a big challenge and something that we're looking into with very much effort and care.
Well, certainly. I mean, and you said it. One thing is to try to decarbonize, but as you said, steel is essential for the current economic system and to ensure prosperity and growth for everybody. So that's very important. And this COP30, we are really focusing on the just energy transition. We have been a lot of emphasis on people and also on protecting nature. So do you think that nuclear energy can help support the steel industry to actually deliver on this just transition?
Yes, definitely. Like I mentioned, the size of the challenge is very unsurmountable, and we need all the options available. In different locations, you may come with a type of hydro, you may come with renewables, and nuclear comes in as well in other locations to guarantee that stable supply of electricity. And that will create some changes in the industry, of course, but it also can create a lot of opportunity, especially in developing nations, where you can bring in new capacity and new electricity, new jobs. So there's a lot to be done and a lot of developments that can support the just transition, of course.
Very cool. So, one of the big advantages of nuclear energy is that, of course, can produce electricity, which is great because we are trying to electrify many things. But at the same time, nuclear energy can also produce heat, steam. So how is the steel industry approaching the opportunity of using nuclear energy to support the production of heat, of steam for some of your your processes?
Yeah, so currently steel is produced in two major ways. One of them is using mainly electricity, which is still produced using scrap. That's already a quite low carbon, low emission way of producing steel. But even in those cases, there are also some studies showing that nuclear energy can provide a stability and actually work better with the type of ramp up and ramp down operation. We have our electric arc furnaces. They operate in batch processes, and nuclear is being studied as one of potential ways that it can provide more stability to those operations. I think Nucor is one of our steel producing companies in the US, and they are looking into that. They have a partnership with a startup company with nuclear. But apart from that, you also have hydrogen as one of the most significant options for the steel industry to decarbonize. And for that production as well, the heat combined can also provide some clear advantages. And it's also initial stages. I think less than 1% of hydrogen worldwide is currently produced with low carbon sources. But I think in the future we're going to see more and more of those deployments coming online. In places where you have hydro power and other renewables, that may be the option that they will prefer, but that's not available everywhere, and nuclear can definitely supply that type of stability, and the heat, like you mentioned, can also help with better outcomes and reducing the price of hydrogen, because currently is one of the significant constraints of using that option.
Exactly. I mean, I think that the summary is what you said earlier, right? We really need to look at all the options that are available and try to optimize them and see where different options fit better than others. So, in that context, what enablers, whether it's policies, whether it's regulatory processes, whether it's changes to business models, do you think that are more needed to actually accelerate these partnerships between, well, nuclear energy and the steel industry and perhaps other clean energy sources?
Yeah, definitely. We need all the help we can get. It still is produced. It is one of the most traded materials worldwide. So around 30% of steel is traded across intercontinental borders. So we need to have some clarity on how to approach that and how to recognize the real low carbon steel and actually reward those that are taking the steps towards bringing the emissions down. So there's a lot of effort, especially here in the COP, in harmonizing the way that we calculate emissions, the way that we recognize emissions. The World Steel Association, currently we are one of the endorsers of the Steel Standards Principles, which is a coalition of organizations that are looking into can we bring the number of methodologies to down at least and try to have some interoperability across them. So I think this is one of the major conditions. But apart from that, we also need policies and support from governments, demand side policy, for example, public procurement agreements from governments giving that signal that we want low carbon steel for the producers to actually go ahead and implement those changes. So some clarity on what is real low carbon emissions and some demand signals will definitely go a long way to support those steel producing companies that are already taking the steps to reduce emissions.
Yeah, very interesting. I mean, I think that you are right. This issue about standardizing and clarifying metrics and measures, so we all are measuring CO2 emissions and other greenhouse gas emissions in a consistent manner is going to be essential.
Yeah, and even the steel industry, and I think very much like the nuclear industry, the investments are very long-term investments, right? So it's the assets live for 30, 40 years, so we need very clear signals now so that the investment can take place now. We cannot have policies that go one way and then another way, so we need some support to actually drive the efforts in the right direction.
So in that note, that the steel industry, the nuclear industry, we are very different, but in many ways very very similar. So how do you think that we can collaborate, the steel industry, the nuclear industry, perhaps many other sectors and parts of the economy and industries within the global economy, to actually accelerate this clean energy transition that we all really want to achieve as fast and as effectively as possible?
I think it is, for example, this partnership that Nucor has with startup NewScale in the US is one of those examples. So it's actually looking into the technologies, how to integrate them, how to have them co-located in operating in the most efficient way. When we have those examples in place, then that can exponentiate other applications worldwide. I think there's a lot to be done, especially with the use of hydrogen. Hydrogen is a very difficult material to work with. It's difficult to store, it's difficult to transport. So if you have the generation, the production of hydrogen and the use in the same location, that can help. And because nuclear also has a small area footprint, that can also be one advantage to use nuclear for that type of application. So I hope that some pilots and some examples come online, and then that can be replicated in other places as well.
Well, thank you, Felipe, for coming over to the Net Zero Nuclear Pavilion and share with us all the work that the World Steel Association is doing to actually move forward this clean energy transition that we all want. And again, I do hope that we can continue to work together. I mean, we obviously have the same goals and we have very good opportunities to amplify each other's efforts. So thank you for joining us and all the best during this COP30 here in Belém.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure, and let's keep in touch.
Thank you.